The week before Labor Day is typically when Six Flags will make their chain-wide announcement for the new attractions for the upcoming year. In light of the pandemic, I don't believe they'll be making a huge video as they've done in the past. I believe most new for 2020 editions will be postponed till 2021. For that reason, I'm going to try to predict what I think the Six Flags parks will add going forward in 2022 and beyond. Now, I want to preface this that I have no inside information and this is purely speculation based off the tendency of the parks. New England's largest amusement park in Six Flags New England. Since the park does not appear to be opening for the 2020 season, their original new for 2020 edition, Supergirl, will be postponed till 2021. But I also want to predict what will come after that as well. What I personally want is a launch coaster. I would love if they could squeeze a launch coaster on the hillside by Catwoman's Whip, send it over the access road, and into Superman's Helix. That way they could get a new roller coaster without removing something. And a launch coaster is the most notable thing they're missing. Now, what I honestly think they should add is something to Hurricane Harbor. It has been a really long time since they added something to their water park. And one of the biggest slides they're missing is a mat racer water slide. And honestly, I think this mat racer water slide is a strong possibility. Granted, I've been calling for that for years, but that's what I'll say the park is most likely to get as their next big addition. Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey was set to get the Jersey Devil coaster, a brand new RMC Raptor for the 2020 season. But that is being postponed until 2021, and that should satisfy the fans' desire to get a brand new coaster. So looking forward to 2022, what I think the park should get and what I think they will get is a refresh of the kids area. Six Flags has not touched the kids areas in this park in over a decade, except to remove the Roadrunner Express kiddie coaster. I think they need to add a kiddie coaster back to the park, whether it be a new one or Roadrunner Express. And just a nice refresh of the area would be great. Moving on to Great Escape in Lake George, New York, the Adirondack Outlaw was postponed until 2021. This is a giant booster. And what I want more than anything at this park is a custom steel coaster. Currently, they have the Comet, a very nice wooden coaster, and then their best steel coaster is the Alpine Bobsled, which is really on its last legs. Now, do I think they'll add a custom steel coaster? No. Looking at their tendencies, they tend to alternate between a dry flat ride one year and then a water slide the next year. So based on that trend, I think they'll be due for a water slide in 2022. And that begs the question, what type of water slide will they add? And I noticed two gaps in their lineup. First, a water coaster, but I think that might be a bit more money than Great Escape wants to spend. The other option is a family raft slide, and I think this one is much more likely, especially because this park tends to focus on the family demographic. Moving on to Six Flags Darien Lake, Wahoo Wave was postponed until 2021. And since that will satisfy the water side, I think 2022 would be something on the dry side. And what I want more than anything else would be an RMC conversion of Predator. I admittedly got some good rides in Predator in 2019, but I know that coaster is not loved by many, and it's a perfect candidate for the RMC conversion. However, what I think is more likely is a giant frisbee. It's a more economical addition for the park, and it is one flat ride this park does not have. Six Flags America really is due for a new roller coaster. The park hasn't added a new roller coaster since 2014, and even that was a relocated Ragin' Cajun spinning coaster from Six Flags Great America. Well, I guess technically they did get a roller coaster in 2019 if you count the Apocalypse conversion to Firebird. Now, what I want more than anything is an RMC conversion of Roar. I've loved the Joker out at Discovery Kingdom, which was also previously Roar, and this would be a great addition to the park. Now, what I think the park should do, though, is build a little bit of a cheaper roller coaster because this park doesn't have the highest attendance. Something like an RMC Raptor would be great for this park. And honestly, I probably would have set a free spin until King's Dominion has plans to build their own next year. However, since this park's two most recent coasters were relocated from Six Flags Great America, I am going to really tick off the fans of Six Flags Great America and say that their most likely addition is a relocated Vertical Velocity Intimate Impulse coaster from Six Flags Great America. There have been rumors that this park has been doing a lot of electrical work, and maybe that's to support the launch motors of Vertical Velocity. Six Flags Over Georgia has added quite a few flat rides in the years following Twisted Cyclone. And what I actually want this park to add is an S&S free spin. It would really fit this park's lineup nicely. But what I think they should add is some new water slides. Their water park in the back of the park doesn't really have much, and a new water slide tower would really help that park out. Now what I think is most likely, I can see a coin flip between the S&S free spin and the water slides, but I will guess the water slides because I think the roller coasters will go to other parks in the chain. Moving on to Six Flags Great America, the park has gotten some excellent additions recently and seen a strong return on investment. What I want is an RMC conversion of American Eagle. I know this is a historic coaster, but I don't think it rides very well, and that structure would make for a great RMC. What I think they should do, and what I think is most likely, is a giant frisbee. That has one flat ride this park is missing, and based on what some of the other larger Six Flags parks have done, I think this is what they might be doing. Moving on to Six Flags St. Louis, this is another park like Six Flags America that is really due for a new roller coaster. And like Six Flags Great America, there is a wooden coaster at this park I would love to see get the RMC conversion, and that would be Boss. With a ride that large, it would make for one heck of an RMC. But what I think they should do is add a more compact steel coaster that's a bit more economical, specifically on Tidal Wave's footprint. And now I think there are two likely candidates for it. One, an S&S free spin, because Six Flags loves installing those coasters, or two, an RMC Raptor. I personally prefer the RMC Raptor, and that's what I'll say they're going to get, but it really is a coin flip what they might add. Moving on to Frontier City, this is a very hard park to predict because they have only been recently reacquired by Six Flags. What I want is a headlining coaster. Currently, their best coaster is probably either Diamondback or Silver Bullet, and neither are coasters that people will want to travel for. An RMC Raptor would be perfect for this park. It would be an economical addition and it wouldn't take up much space. Or another nice addition would be a launch coaster like a Skyrocket 2, but I think the park may wait a bit before adding a roller coaster, and what I think is most likely is a flat ride. And Frontier City is missing quite a few rides that Six Flags loves to put in their parks. Frontier City is missing a drop tower, a giant frisbee, and a sky screamer. Since Six Flags Darien Lake got the sky screamer after being reacquired by the chain, I will predict a sky screamer for Frontier City. Moving on to Six Flags Over Texas, Aquaman is postponed until 2021. After that, what I would love to see would be a dark ride to replace Yosemite Sam's, which was damaged in a flood. But I personally don't think that's very likely because Six Flags doesn't usually add dark rides, and I don't see them adding a second one to Six Flags Over Texas because they already got the Justice League. What I think is most likely is probably a smaller flat ride like a disco. Six Flags Fiesta Texas is an interesting park. This tends to be a testing ground for Six Flags for new rides. In 2015, Fiesta Texas got the first S&S free spin prototype, and in 2018, they got the first RMC Raptor. So based off that, it would be very tempting to say this park would get the first S&S Axis, but I don't quite think that will be what's coming in 2022. Instead, I think what this park should add, and was most likely, is a mat racing water slide. They haven't added anything to the water park since Thunder Rapids, and this is one slide type that they're missing. Moving on to Six Flags Magic Mountain, I'm pretty sure their next addition will be an RMC Raptor based off the leaked documents that have been found. But I don't want to take the easy way out, and I want to look beyond just that new ride. What I think this park should add sometime in the future would be a sky screamer atop the hill. The views would be amazing. And based on their history where they'll refresh the area that the new attraction goes to, I think this would be a really nice addition to Samurai Summit to really liven that area up. Moving on to Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. Sidewinder Safari was postponed until 2021, and that really fills the park's biggest void, a family coaster in between Cobra and all the inverting roller coasters. But beyond that, one ride type that Six Flags Discovery Kingdom is missing is a drop tower. Now the park does have a 150-foot height limit, but there are two types of drop towers that would comfortably fit in that range. The first would be an arm drop tower, but Six Flags has never worked with them. What I think is more likely is an S&S double shot, as that would comfortably be below the range. Going south of the border to Six Flags Mexico, what I want is a great third coaster to complement Superman and Medusa. And I'm going to take a shot in the dark here and predict that this park is going to get an S&S air launch coaster in the mold of Max Force. Six Flags Mexico has some excellent attendance numbers, and they've gotten good returns on investment on their newer additions. So I think they can justify the cost of a flashy addition. Now let's talk about Ronde in Canada. What I want more than anything is an RMC conversion of Monster, but realistically I don't see that happening. A smaller coaster addition that would be great would be a compact launch coaster like a Skyrocket 2. But considering how they are getting Vipier for next year, I think what's most likely is a flat ride, and I'm going to guess maybe a booster since those were going to be added to the parks in 2020. So those are my predictions for what I think the Six Flags parks will add going beyond the 2021 season. Again, I think most of the additions for 2021 will be the original new for 2020 rides postponed. So I'm taking a shot in the dark where I think these parks will be adding for the 2022 season, assuming the parks can operate as normal next year. What are your thoughts on these additions? Do you agree with my thoughts, or do you think these parks should be getting some different attractions? If you liked this video, I'd appreciate if you gave this video a like and consider subscribing, because there will be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for listening.